can feel Stede's nervous exhale against his cheek, and suddenly this part isn't so easy. Because technically Ed has done this part before. He's kissed a few people, boys and girls and other people, and it's always been fine, you know, nothing special. But none of them have been Stede, and none of them have been Stede's first kiss, and this is special. This is so...
Hey everyone, Carly here. We're back with another delicious podfic from Baby Kraken. This week they're narrating Teenage Dirtbag and the sequel, We Are Golden by Oatmilktruther. These fics are adorable modern AU stories that feature Ed and Stede as teenagers. I think you'll love the voices as well as the story. Before we get into the fics, a quick podcast update. Our next Gay Pirate News Hour will be December 7th at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to be subscribed to Our Flag Means Fanfiction on YouTube so you can get the notification when we go live. Also, a new Haunted Hollywood Hour podcast episode will be dropping on Thursday. We give the latest updates on the Hana Kobayashi missing persons case, and we also cover the hauntings at Santa Monica Pier, and we share a cryptid story from the 1960s. It's the Dog Woman of Watts. So now it's time for what Oatmilktruther refers to as Ab's annoying infinite high school jukebox trilogy. Here's the summary for Teenage Dirtbag. Ed was never gonna go to his senior prom. Obviously. Doesn't mean he can't have a good time. Doesn't mean someone who does go to the senior prom can't turn his night around.
This is Teenage Dirtbag by Oatmilktruther. I will be doing the voices. Ed was never going to go to senior prom, obviously. Ed and his friends, they weren't the prom types, didn't have the kinds of parents who cared about sweet photos in dolled-up outfits for the mantle, didn't date the kinds of people who cared about slow dancing to songs picked out by their teachers that had already gone out of style, and had way better shit to drink than smuggled shooters of peach schnapps dumped into punch. Well, maybe not way better. What they had was stolen vodka in a Mountain Dew bottle from Annie's mum's liquor cabinet, and legally purchased Mountain Dew, for some reason, in a water bottle as a chaser. But since they could knock it back underneath the bleachers without looking over their shoulders for Miss Kopinitsky's beady glare, it tasted way better. And when you can have stolen vodka and ditchweed spliffs, who needs punch from a packet and slow dancing with your high school sweetheart? Not Ed. He did want to dress up fancy, though, like, as a laugh, like, I'm getting stoned under the bleachers with my friends while wearing the suit from my dad's funeral. Fucking hilarious. And he's right, because every time he gets a bit in his head and starts feeling all kinds of messy feelings, which usually happens when he drinks or smokes, which is kind of a pain, because hanging with Jack and Annie and Mary, they're usually drinking or smoking or both, but anyways, he can look down and see himself in his suit and, you know, have a laugh about it. Though, honestly, he looks pretty good in it. Probably the nicest thing he owns, even though it was a hand-me-down when he got it. But that ended up being for the best because at the funeral, it was too big for him. And it felt like he was playing dress-up. But he's gotten taller since then, put on a bit of muscle. Not that it matters or whatever, but he has. And now the suit fits him, fits his body. Obviously, he's not a suit guy. Anyways, he wanted to dress fancy for the occasion, got Annie and Mary and Jack all on board, at least mostly. Mary's wearing an oversized button-down and vest, probably borrowed from her uncle, over her regular cargo pants and dogs. Annie's wearing a dress from a thrift store, probably donated after someone's quinceanera because, damn, that's a lot of ruffles. And Jack, well, Jack is wearing a tuxedo shirt and cargo shorts. But they're not stained or ripped, which, for Jack, to be fair, is fancy. And yeah, they all thought it was a laugh, doing hoodlum shit, as Annie likes to say, all dressed up and nowhere to be. It was funny and it was fun, wearing their best duds just to drink and smoke under the bleachers like they did most weekends. Almost made it almost feel special. Not that they cared that it was prom night specifically, obviously. It was just a night that some of their lamer friends were busy actually being at prom. So yeah, it's cool. They're cool. Jack and Annie and Mary seem to think he's cool, usually. Anyways, so long as he doesn't talk too much about his mum or flinch away when Mary and Annie start fighting. And it's a lot better than freshman year, when no one talked to him and all his teachers talked about him. So, yeah, it's a good way to send off his senior year, hanging out with his best friends, their way. Honestly, though, Ed just kind of wishes it wasn't so boring. He doesn't like the taste of vodka, and they only have 2 spliffs to pass between them, so in pretty short order there's nothing for him to do but fidget with his hands while Jack pulls on the vodka and Annie gets closer and closer to Mary while sing-songing that "I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you." Maybe Jack would sneak into prom with him if Ed told him it was so they could steal the cord to the speakers and fuck up Coach Ronaldson's night, which, obviously it would be. But Ed could also get a look at the decorations and the outfits too, which could be interesting. Probably. Maybe. But Ed swivels his head towards the sound and sees the back gym door smack open and a blur of powder blue stride into the night air. "Oh shit," Jack swears, and immediately shoves the Mountain Dew bottle of vodka into Ed's hands and hightails out from under the bleachers and off across the field. "What the fuck, man?" Ed calls after him, but he's already gone. "Typical teenage boy behaviour," Mary says, and Ed does not bother pointing out that she's hardly any different, and usually a bit more deranged with it. Instead tracks the powder blue blur, solidifying into a lanky boy leaning against the outer wall of the gym and slowly slumping down to the ground. Annie looks at Mary, flashes a predator grin, and starts striding towards the boy. "Oh, hello, darling," she calls, and Ed feels queasy, because Annie only calls people sweet things like darling when she's trying to start shit, and this kid is just minding his own business. A head of blonde curls lifts up from the smudge of blue, and a shaky voice says, "Hello," except it very much comes out as a question. Mary is hot on Annie's heels and jumps in with the predator grin of her own. "Posh little thing like you, sitting out by his lonesome. What's up with that?" "Yeah, what's up with that?" Annie echoes. Ed's stomach twists, and he looks down at the stupid bottle of vodka in his hands. Fuck it. He dumps it in the grass, steps out from underneath the bleachers and follows after Annie and Mary, where they're zeroing in on their prey. Closer, Ed can see the guy's face and his eyes are red-rimmed, but, not from pot, and his curls are all messed up and pushed back around his forehead, and something about the sad, pleading look in his eyes makes Ed want to make sure his night doesn't go from bad to worse. "Meh, Annie, cut it out. Just leave him alone," he says. Tries to put some authority in it. Tries to not let it sound like a whine, because they'll both just... "Oh, does Princess Eddie think we should leave posh boy Prince Charming alone?" God damn it. "No, just Jack had the last spliff. We should probably track him down before he smokes the whole thing himself, since Annie paid for the weed." Annie and Mary narrow their eyes, look at each other, visibly weighing the merits of losing out on their last bit of weed versus giving up a potential new toy, and, thankfully, opt for the weed. "Fine," Mary says, and they turn tail in unison and start off towards the direction Jack disappeared. Ed huffs out a tiny sigh of relief and turns to follow after them. "Wait!" It's that same voice, but an inch less shaky. And Ed stops in his tracks, turns towards the kid slumped against the gym wall. From a handful of meters off, Ed can see that his suit is powder blue, but so is the shirt, and the shirt's got ruffles all the way up the chest. And just to the side, pinned to his lapel, there's a pink carnation tied up with a sprig of something white and flowery with a satin ribbon. It looks like it would be so soft to the touch. Just a fluttery, delicate little thing. What? He asks. And it comes out harsher than he means it to, because usually kids like this, blonde, well-dressed, expensive shoes, don't usually have anything good to say to kids like Ed. But then the kid winces, and Ed feels bad, and he tries again, softer. I mean, what? Nailed it. I just, The kid picks himself up off the ground, takes a tentative step towards Ed, and Ed matches him with a step forward of his own. I just wanted to say thank you. Oh. Ed doesn't really know what to say to that. Was expecting something like, what are you doing out here? Or, why are you even wearing a suit? Or something, so he just says the first thing that comes into his brain. What's that fancy floral thing pinned on your jacket? Oh! And then he lights up. And even from a couple of meters off, it's blinding. His smile, big and sun-bright and sparkling with the flash of a mouthful of metal. It's a boutonniere. Ed steps closer, and the kid matches him again, until they're standing right across from each other. Boutonniere. Ed rolls the word around in his mouth, and he likes the taste of it. How there's a fancy fuck-off set of syllables for a tiny little bouquet that goes on your jacket. It looks nice, man. Nice is a bit of an understatement, if Ed's being honest, which he isn't. The soft pink of the flower, the creamy white of the ribbon, the little sprinkling of teeny tiny petals that make up the sprig of whatever, paired up against perfectly pressed powder blue. Ed doesn't have the words for how nice it is, because things that nice just aren't part of his world. Ed must be giving away more with his hungry look than he means to, because the kid just keeps smiling at him, totally easy, like a harmless puppy, and then asks him, would you like to wear it? Ed instinctively scoffs, because him? No way, I couldn't. It's your fancy boutonniere for your fancy prom night. It's the other kid's turn to scoff. My fancy prom night, he says derisively. Sure, if you consider going with a girl your father told you to ask out just for her to spend the whole night dancing with someone else while the Badminton brothers try to launch spitballs into your punch a fancy prom night. Ew, Ed says, at the badmintons and the spitballs. No, I don't. The kid gives him a look like, see? Ed rocks on his heels, shoves his hands into his pockets. So, not like you asked, but my name's Ed. I know. And then the kid flushes like a cherry tomato. I mean, my name's Stede. Stede. Wait. What do you mean you know? Ed knows he has a reputation, of course, but for some reason he doesn't want Stede to already know him from his long list of petty crimes and rule infractions. Doesn't want Stede's first impression of him to be the exact kind of person Ed actually is. The sculpture in the science wing, Stede says, still cherry red. That was you, right? It's incredible. Oh, yeah. The art elective Ed had to have to graduate, the one he put off until literally final term senior year. He had fun with that project, made a huge mess with spray foam and coat hanger wire, and got an A for it. Was actually pretty proud of it. Didn't think anyone would notice it, thanks. Stede smiles at him, that sunny flash of metal. So, what's going on with your fancy prom night? He asks. Ed groans. Well, since my friends ditched me, basically nothing. But before that, stolen vodka and a couple of spliffs. Well now, and Stede's smile turns conspiratorial. A fancy night like that certainly deserves a fancy boutonniere. Ed flushes. Oh, come on. You don't want to give me something that nice. Stede's face goes steely in determination. I absolutely do. Consider it a thank you for saving my night. Ed looks at Stede, his earnest face, looks down at his feet, the scuffed toes of his boots. "'Kay," he says to the asphalt, hoping the dark is hiding his blush. "Excellent," Stede says, and there's a fumbling, and then... Stede is carefully, so carefully pinning the boutonniere to Ed's own lapel, is brushing one gentle palm across Ed's chest, is saying, "There, perfect." And for one little moment, Ed looking up at Stede, in the softest surprise, seeing nothing but an earnest smile reflected right back. It is perfect. And in that moment, Ed starts thinking maybe he could be made for nice things like this.
That was Teenage Dirtbag by oatmilktruther. Who's ready for the sequel? I know I am.
Hello, friends. I'm very excited to be recording the sequel to Teenage Dirtbag for you. I absolutely fell in love with this version of Our Boys, and it was just so sweet, and I was so excited to see there was a sequel. This is We Are Golden by oatmilktruther. Chapter 1. I will be doing the voices. Stede is nervous. He's about to go get his braces off. Finally. And he's so nervous. Not because of the braces. He's been ready for them to be off since before he even got them put on. Has been counting down the days since his parents waited forever to get him his braces. Said no one cared what his teeth looked like, which Stede thinks privately is total bullshit because he cares what his teeth look like. But also, even if he didn't, every badminton and badminton clone had plenty of opinions about his teeth. Before and during the braces, and lightly after. And then his dentist said it would mess up his molars if they didn't, and Stede felt a brief moment of victory before he realised he would have to spend every single second of his senior year with a mouth full of metal, like his social life wasn't already doomed. So no, he's ready for the braces to come off, hates his orthodontic appointments as much as the next kid, but to finally be able to smile without flashing the mess in his mouth, it's worth it. No, he's nervous about what comes after the braces come off, because he decided that's it. That's the only excuse he has left. Once the braces come off, he's going to ask Ed out on a date. He thinks. He really hopes Ed will say yes. Stede is pretty sure Ed likes boys, although he's not completely sure, because most of the things Ed says about Jack sound like a joke or a story he made up to make Stede turn bright pink, so that Ed can laugh and say, "I'm just fucking with you, mate." Except Ed never really seems to be making fun of him. He always manages to make Stede feel like he's in on the joke. And no one's ever gone out of their way to include Stede in the joke. And no one's ever come over armed with contraband, at least to Stede's parents. Red Bulls, just so they can pull an all-nighter with Stede while he crams for his AP tests. And no one's ever skipped the graduation after party all the cool kids got invited to hang out with Stede instead. Because if Stede wasn't going to be there, it was going to be a lame party anyways. And no one sat on the phone with him and talked him down from a panic attack after he got his first college rejection letter. And he was sure he was never going to go anywhere and that his entire future was ruined. And no one's ever looked at him like that. Like they like him. Like they would do anything to protect him. Like he's their best friend. Like they like him. No one until Ed. And soon, Stede is going to be 18, an entire adult, and he's going to have to go to college and have a big grown-up life and everything. And if he does all that without at least trying to ask Ed on a date, he'll probably never make it anywhere in life. So once the braces are off, once he looks at least 20% less ridiculous than he usually does, he's going to ask Ed on a date. And he's going to cross his fingers and his toes and his arms and his legs that Ed doesn't laugh right in his face. He probably won't. Ed doesn't really laugh at him, but still. The appointment with his orthodontist is way faster than he expected. A weird bit of pressure, and then they're off. And his teeth are polished, and then they fit him for his retainer. And then before he knows it, he's out on the sidewalk, a free, sorta, man. Sorta. His father's driver/maintenance guy had dropped him off, and Stede told him not to wait. He was going to walk over to Ed straight after. But now it's after. And it's only just past 3. And if Ed turns him down, that's a lot of the day still left for stewing in misery. But if he waits any longer, that's more of the day stewing in anxiety. And between the two, he's not sure which one will suck more. But then he thinks about Ed. And how his house is so close by. And he imagines Ed's smile when Stede knocks on his door, like it's always a pleasant surprise for Stede to be there. And there's really no other choice but to do what his instincts are telling him to do. What he always does. And that's to go towards Ed. The walk gives him time to get himself together. Ed is his friend. And Ed likes him. And even if Ed doesn't like him like that, Ed knows how scared Stede has always been about stuff like dating. And maybe Ed doesn't know that Stede likes boys, since Stede's only just now figuring it out himself. But Stede does know that it's not the kind of thing that's a big deal to him, because almost nothing is a big deal to Ed, so this won't be either, for sure. Stede can just ask him to prove to himself that he's not a complete coward, and then Ed can politely turn him down, and they can just be friends again, until they go off to college and Ed finds cooler, smarter people to be friends with and date. And that would be fine. It'd be totally fine, because Ed is already the best friend he's ever had. So it's fine. He almost walks by Ed's building. He's so deep in his thoughts. But then he hears a voice call out from above him. Hey! He looks up, and it's Ed, leaning way too far out of his bedroom window in a way that makes Stede nervous. And he knows makes Ed's mum nervous too. But Ed always laughs it off, says he's fine. Ed's wearing a tank top with the armholes cut loose down to his ribs and a big brilliant smile, and oh God, how on earth did Stede think he'd be able to ask him out on a date? He should just walk away now, pretend he forgot something at home. Are you just going to stand there, or are you going to come up? Up. No, that wouldn't work at all. If Stede embarrasses himself, he doesn't want to have to walk down the hall past nosy Catherine's door and then 2 whole flights of stairs before he can go die of mortification in some alley. Actually, could you come down? Ed rolls his eyes so dramatically, Stede can see it from street level, and then ducks back into his bedroom. And Stede doesn't even have more than 30 seconds to wonder if Ed is actually going to come down before Ed bursts out of the apartment building entrance and then quickly reassembles all his long limbs into a casual stride over to Stede. What's up? Ed asks. And he tries to play it cool, but Stede can see him huffing around the words, and it makes Stede smile because Ed was rushing to see him. Did your feet even touch the stairs? He asks, gently teasing the way he's only ever been allowed to with Ed. Nah, Ed smirks. Didn't even take the stairs. Used my graduation money to install a portal in my bedroom. A portal that just takes you to your apartment lobby. What's the point of a portal like that? Well, I didn't say I got a lot of graduation money. Damn, Stede. What, does your graduation portal take you to the moon? No, my graduation portal also takes me to your apartment lobby, so I can always visit you. Aw, Fuck, Stede, Ed says, looking down at his feet and fidgeting them back and forth in his slides. And that makes Stede smile. Because how does him, make the coolest, bravest person he's ever met almost shy? Makes Stede smile. And he lets it spread. And how great does it feel to give a big, proper smile around Ed without having to be self-conscious about his stupid braces? Ed looks up at him briefly through his lashes, which isn't fair, because Stede has been looking at boys and pretending he wasn't looking at boys for years now. And he's never seen anyone as pretty as Ed, with his long lashes and his longer hair and the soft edges of his face. Ed doesn't like it when people call him pretty, because it's usually Jack, and he's usually mean about it. But Ed is pretty. Handsome too, of course. All lean muscle and towering height and way more scruff than Stede could ever grow. And that sick tattoo of a hawk he got the second he turned 18 that Stede can see on full display over the scooping neckline of that cut-out tank. And Jesus. You got your braces off! Stede can feel himself flush as he nods, because he knew Ed was going to notice. But it feels nice now it's happening. Ed noticing him. Ed seems to notice way more about Stede than anyone else has ever bothered to. And it feels nice. Congrats, man. And then Ed pushes at Stede's shoulder. A casual gesture he's made 100 times now. But it's the burning point of contact. The metaphorical push Stede needs to do what he came here to do. Yes, yeah. That's actually why I came to see you. To invite me to a caramel corn eating doubles competition. I'm in. Yeah, and 100 feet of bubble tape for dessert, he says, and then swallows his nerves. No, I wanted to invite you to something else. Okay, I'm in. Just let me know if I need to change my shoes, Ed says, pointedly wiggling his toes in his slides. Maybe wait until I tell you what I'm inviting you to before you decide? Ed snorts. Nah, I mean, you're the one inviting me, right? Like Ed would just follow him to the ends of the earth. He swallows again. It feels like the words are stuck in his throat. They're right there. He can taste them. But he still needs to say them. Come on, Stede. You look like you're going to invite me to go freediving in a tank of badminton ball sweat. And I know you're not going to do that. So it's fine, right? I'm in. Ed gives him his, hey, everything's fine, smile. His real one. Ed, no, gross. Why did your mind even go there? No, I wanted to ask you if you wanted to go on a date. Stede immediately looks at his shoes. Doesn't know what Ed's face looks like when he asks. A date? Yeah? With you? Yeah? Romantic, like, not as friends. Yeah? Oh. And then Stede braces for the rejection, for the, that's nice, but no thanks. But it doesn't come. Only silence sits between them as Stede stares resolutely at his sneakers until he can't take it anymore, and he steels himself to look up at Ed's face of disgust. Oh. No. Ed's not disgusted. He looks stunned. Stede's never seen him cry. Ed is a lot tougher than Stede, and he doesn't cry over every mean thing that happens to him at school. But if Stede had to bet, he'd say that's what Ed looks like when he's about to cry. Oh, God, Ed, I'm so sorry. If you hate it, you can just pretend I never said anything. We can just be friends. It's fine. No. Shut up. Stede's mouth clicks closed. You're saying you? And then Ed points at Stede, like there's any chance of confusion. Want to take me? He points at himself. On a date? Like we get to hold hands and share a milkshake and And my mom will probably say some threatening stuff about having me back before curfew and shit. Stede nods, tentative. And before his head even steals, he's wrapped up in Ed. Ed is hugging him, and Stede can smell the coconut of his shampoo and the bergamot of his body wash and feel the warmth of his body pressed all around him. Like, all around him. Arms wrapped tight against him. Ed's face smooshed into his neck. Oh my God. Ed. Is that yes? Stede has to ask before he does something stupid like melt away into a puddle right on the sidewalk. Ed pulls back, but keeps his hands anchored on Stede's shoulders. Gives him a little shake. Yeah, fucking yes, it's a yes. We should definitely do that, the date thing. Could be cool. And Ed is even worse than usual at playing it cool because he can't stop smiling, which is okay, because neither can Stede. But he does pull his hands back, let them drop to his sides, though they fidget there, like Ed doesn't know what to do with them now. Okay, yeah, cool. Do you wanna... And now he's stumbling over his words because he's just so... He can't believe it. Ed, his best friend, really his only friend, wants to go on a date with him, with Stede Bonnet. The same Stede Bonnet that people have been calling Baby Bonnet for 4 years because he didn't really hit puberty until the summer after freshman year. The same Stede Bonnet that did his science fair project about books and got laughed at all the way through his presentation. Ed wants to go on a date with him, and he can't believe it. But also, he's not wasting any time, isn't going to give Ed a chance to change his mind. Do you want to go out on Saturday? Oh, no, that's so far away. Like it's a bad thing. Ed doesn't want to have to wait. It's summer break. Why don't we just go tomorrow? Yeah, okay. Yes, we can do tomorrow. It gives him less time to convince his dad to let him use the car. But it's worth it for how Ed beams at him. I can pick you up at 7. Perfect. It is perfect. It is so perfect. Stede is going to pick Ed up for a date tomorrow. And he doesn't know if he's allowed to, but he kind of thinks yes. Ed hugged him, so he pulls Ed in quickly, just for a second, to give him a hug. And then he squeaks out, "Okay, see you tomorrow, bye," as he lets go and turns tail and starts off towards the bus stop. His ears are burning. His face is on fire. But he feels 1,000,000 feet tall. He's going on a date with Ed. End of fic. Oh, that was just pure joy to read. I absolutely adore this one. And I'm going to go straight away and record part 2. This is We Are Golden, Chapter 2 by Oatmilktruther. I will be doing the voices. The second Stede's out of Ed's line of sight, he turns and rushes into the lobby, bolts up the stairs and makes a beeline for the phone in the kitchen. He fumbles his way through misdialing his mum's work number 3 times before he finally punches every digit in the correct order. And then it rings for like 1,000,000,000 years before Miss Alice finally picks up. "Thank you for calling the law office of Carls and Carlton. This is Alice. How can I help you?" "Miss Alice, it's Eddie. Can you get my mum, right away?" Hi. Yeah, gosh, of course." The phone clicks over to hold music, and Ed rolls up on the balls of his feet, slams down against the laminate of the kitchen floor, does it again, because he is buzzing, and... "Eddie!" His mum comes on the phone with a click and a breathless gasp of his name. "Is everything okay? Are you hurt? Did you burn down the kitchen? Because I swear..." "No, Ma. Oh my God. Language? It's just... Stede asked me out." He says the last bit in a rush because he can't even really believe it himself. "On a date?" "Yeah." "Eddie, that's wonderful. Why didn't you say something to Alice? You had me scared half to death calling me at work." Ed doesn't panic, as a rule. He's very cool and collected, and he can handle anything because he's tough shit, but a date with Stede doesn't require him to be tough shit. Probably requires, softness and gentlemanly behaviour and manners and all kinds of stuff Ed has no idea how to do. So it begs the question, Ma, what am I going to do? Oh, Eddie, you just have to be yourself. That's fucking stupid. Language. I know, sorry, Ma. But it is stupid. Stede's all rich and fancy and smart, and I'm not any of that shit stuff. First of all, Eddie, how dare you imply a child of mine is stupid? Sorry, Ma. Second of all, he asked you out, didn't he? You can see where this is going. And it's about to be completely logical and make perfect sense, and that just doesn't work with him panicking. After his stubborn silence, his mum prods again. Didn't he? Yeah, he mutters. Okay, so he already likes me, or whatever, he says. And he knows he sounds petulant, toes roughly at the kitchen cabinet in protest. So, it's going to be fine, isn't it? Yeah, fine. That's my Eddie. Whatever. You still have to help me figure out what I'm supposed to wear. Of course I will. Ed says his goodbyes, his I love yous, and hangs up. Still kind of annoyed that was all it took to feel better. Even though he knew it would. That's why he called his mum, after all. But by the time 6 o'clock the next day rolls around, he's right back to being a horrible tangle of twisty nerves. Because even though Stede did ask him out, what if he's so nervous that he does something completely stupid that the Ed Stede asked out would never do? What if he gets out to speak English and just stares at Stede like a freak all night? What if Stede takes him to a fancy restaurant and Ed doesn't know which fork to use and everyone in the restaurant laughs at him so hard he dies? Whatever, it could happen. Literally anything could happen, because there's no precedent for this. Him and Stede have never gone on a date with each other before. Ed himself has actually never gone on a date. And besides Stede's shit go at prom, he's not sure Stede has been on a date either. What if their combined powers of having no idea how to go on a date reverse the Earth's rotation and they go back in time to before Stede even asked him out, and Stede gets time travel amnesia and forgets he ever even liked Ed, and then, Eddie, you're stressing me out and you're going to wear a hole in my carpet. Ed doesn't point out that it's technically the landlord's carpet, because the last time he did that, his mum lectured him for like 3 hours about how important it is to take pride in the things that are yours, even if they're not yours forever, because otherwise no one will have any respect for you, and his brain is melting out his ears just thinking about it. But he does flop, defeated, onto the couch, next to his mum, fussing over a sock she's darning. Doesn't last that long though, because he realises he's going to wrinkle his suit after his mum showed him how to iron it properly and everything. And he springs right back up to his feet. Just doesn't launch right back into pacing though, for his mum's sake. Eddie, I'm fine. Love, it's fine. I know, but I'm going to remind you anyway. You are my son, after all. Ed rolls his eyes, but he doesn't argue with her. He's your friend, and he likes you, and you like him, and it's just a first date. It doesn't have to be perfect. There will be other dates. Yeah, but probably not with him, because he's going to see how bad I am at dates and romance, and he's going to be like, never mind, actually, and also, I hate you now, and I never thought your leather jacket was cool. I just said it was, and... His mum looks deeply unimpressed with him, but Ed spared a reassuring mum lecture by the buzzer going off. He narrows his eyes, and his mum gives him the most innocent look before she bolts from the couch for the intercom. But thankfully Ed's got a head start and gets to the buzzer before she does. Hi Stede, I'm coming right down. Do not come up. I'll be there in 2 seconds. Love you, Ma. Good night. He rushes out, blows a kiss to his mum, and then ducks out of the front door before his mum has a chance to do anything embarrassing, like make Stede come up and pose for pictures. He pats his pockets for his wallet and his keys as he hops down the stairs 2 at a time, boots thumping against the carpet in time with his pounding heart because, oh my God, this is actually happening. And then he's out the door, and there's Stede. Stede in a suit, which, Ed was worried he might have overdressed, that Ed's never seen before. bright teal with a gold bow tie. But Ed almost doesn't even catch the outfit details because Stede is holding a bouquet of flowers. And he's lighting up with a megawatt smile the second he sees Ed. Ed! Ed, you made it! I mean, of course you made it. It's your house. I just mean that I'm almost 20 minutes early, which, sorry about that, but still, these are for you. Stede flushes bright red and then pushes his arms out, both hands still clutching the flowers, which are for Ed. No one's ever gotten him flowers. No one would ever look at a guy like him and think that he wants, let alone deserves, flowers. But Stede did. He reaches out tentatively, takes the flowers from Stede and brings them to his nose for a deep sniff. It's light, powdery, a gentle floral, not sickly sweet, with an undertone of spice. And Ed wonders if Stede remembered Ed telling him how his mum gets headaches when the neighbours go too hard with the air fresheners. But he feels silly about asking, so he just pulls back to look at the bouquet again. Soft clouds of little purple flowers. Lilac, Ed thinks, from all the time Stede has talked to him about his favourite flowers. Backlit with bright yellow carnations. Purple and gold. Ed and Stede, he thinks, way deep down. Did I? Ed cuts off his struggle right away, looks at Stede over the bouquet with what he hopes is a totally normal and not soggy, sappy, wet expression. They're perfect. I love them. And then softer. Thank you. Stede beams at him, and then immediately twists in concern. Ed, the car! Stede grabs his arm and then starts pulling him round the corner. Ed laughs, but lets Stede drag him and his bouquet of flowers around the corner to his dad's old BMW. I parked a little bit illegally because I couldn't find any other parking, and I just couldn't wait, so we should probably go right now, Stede says by way of explanation. But then he doesn't let go of Ed's arm. Not that Ed would ever complain, and instead follows him to the passenger side door. And then he unlocks the door, and then he opens the door for Ed. And then he just stands there holding the door like he does that every single day. What the fuck? In that moment, Ed realises he completely wasted all his panic time in the lead up to this date. Asteroid hitting the restaurant? Only slightly possible, and not really responsive to problem solving. Stede romancing Ed so thoroughly that Ed's heart swells up and explodes from feelings, all without batting an eye. Very possible. In fact, probably happening right in this very minute. And Ed didn't plan for it at all. Ed just blinks at Stede, slow and stupid, before eventually remembering that he does know how to get in a car himself, and demonstrating his expertise with only a little bit of awkward fumbling. Stede shuts the door for him, and then zips around to the driver's side and ducks in. And before Ed can bring his heart back online, they're pulling out of his neighbourhood and onto Benson Boulevard, which doesn't go downtown or to Southside or any of the other nice parts of the city where fancy restaurants probably live. 2 minutes later, they're pulling into the parking lot of Jackie's, and at the familiar sight of a blinking neon, Ed lets out a big breath of relief he didn't know he was holding. I hope it's okay, Stede says, fingers nervously drumming the wheel now that they're parked. You just said, sharing a milkshake and holding hands. And I thought that sounded really nice. Ed stares at him. God. Ed doesn't think he was thinking with any part of his brain when he said that yesterday. Just threw out the first things that came to his brain when he thought about dates. And of course Stede remembered. Of course he did. Yeah, fuck, yeah. That sounds so nice. Okay, awesome. Wait, don't open your door. Ed's hand still inches from the handle, and then he pulls both his hands back and up. Like, look, not touching. Who knows, maybe old man Bonnet has some weird thing about people touching the inside of his car with grubby poor person hands. Though Ed will have him know that the Badmintons are rich as shit and are a million times more grubby than even fucking Jack. But Ed digresses. Anyways, it's not like Stede to really give a shit about what his old man wants, so... Oh, Stede is getting the door for him again. And then door held open, offering Ed his hand to help him out the car. What else is Ed gonna do? He takes Stede's hand. God, Stede's hands are so fucking soft. And Ed always kind of knew that the way he knew everything about Stede was soft. But to actually know, and lets him pull him to stand. He's still clutching the flowers in his other hand, but he honestly doesn't think he can let go of them. And also he doesn't want to. He wants to go into that diner, and he wants everyone in there to see him and Stede sitting together and know they're on a date. And that his date thought he was so special, he bought him this gorgeous bouquet of flowers. Maybe they will just explode with jealousy, and Ed and Stede will have the entire diner to themselves. They don't get the whole diner to themselves, but they do get a cosy corner booth far enough away from the bathrooms and the kitchen to not be noisy or awkward. And then Ed sits down and Stede slides in right next to him. And whatever. For all Ed's concerned, they are the only two people in the entire world. Their waiter comes, and Stede orders a large chocolate raspberry milkshake with 2 straws, please and thank you. Says the 2 straws, a bit extra pointed, and Ed tacks on an order of fries, and then, yeah, they are the only 2 people in the entire world. And Stede is Ed's favourite person in the entire world. Sorry to his mum, but she does rag on him a lot about homework and college and his future and shit. But right now, they're just kind of sitting there, not saying anything, while Stede tears a napkin into smaller and smaller pieces. But Stede was a brave one, asking Ed to come out tonight. So Ed figures he can be a little bit brave too. If I were nervous... Obviously, I'm not saying I am, but if I were, it would probably make me feel a bit better if you held my hand, he says, and knocks Stede's pinky with his own. Stede looks up at him and, right in the gut, that big-eyed pleading look Stede gives him. If I were nervous, I think that would probably make me feel better too. Cool. Ed says, and then before he can second-guess himself, he twines his hand up in Stede's. Stede looks down at their interlaced hands in disbelief and breathes out, cool, in agreement. But Stede still looks like he's about to vibrate through the Formica tabletop. And if Ed knows one thing about Stede Bonnet nerves, it's that you gotta distract him, giving him something he's got a real passion for to ramble about until he forgets he was ever nervous. So Ed says, tell me about the flowers. And he takes it as a point of pride in their friendship that Stede doesn't even ask him, really? In that disbelieving tone he used to when they first became friends. Just launches immediately in. Well, I had to pick yellow and purple, of course, but some flowers are a bit too much oomph for most other purple flowers to balance out. So that left carnations, which isn't so bad because carnations are romantic, if a bit overplayed, and also I thought you might like their scent because they smell kind of spicy, which is a good compliment to the lilac. For how vibrant the lilac is, it's such a mild scent, which I've always liked. And fun fact, lilacs are actually in the olive family, but they're such a delicate, pretty flower, which, I thought you deserved. Stede is still blushing, but he doesn't look uncertain anymore. Looks completely sure of himself and his floral choices, which he should be, in Ed's opinion. And Ed wants to hear more, so he asks, why, of course? You said yellow and purple, of course. How come yellow and purple? Stede's blush flushes up to his ears, and he just squeezes Ed's hand, and Ed squeezes right back. Well, purple in flowers has an air of mystery, Coolness, the dark horse of the flower world. He raises his eyebrows at Ed. Like you. And also lilacs themselves, for new love. Ed squeezes his hand. Hope Stede can't feel his palms getting all nervous, sweaty. And yellow for friendship, of course. And suddenly it's easy. It's Stede. It's just his best friend Stede, except that now Ed's heart is allowed to flutter when Stede laughs. Except that now he doesn't have to make excuses to touch him because their hands stay connected throughout the entire night. Except that when their food comes and they knock noses, both trying to go for a sip of milkshake at that same time, he doesn't flush bright red in embarrassment, but instead in excitement. It's just his best friend Stede. Except that it's never just been his best friend Stede. Not even since that moment, before they were even really friends, when Stede pinned a flower to his jacket and called it perfect. And now that's okay. That's great, even. Not some dumb little secret he's hiding even from himself, but instead something they both know. The entire diner knows. Even his fucking mum knows. Ed is on a date with Stede. Ed is on a date with Stede and showing him how good it is when you dip your fries in your milkshake. Which, seriously, how has he never done this before? Ed is pretty sure Stede's parents just ban things in their house if they can be any level of fun or cool. Stede isn't allowed to wear jeans to school. Public school. Anyways, none of that matters right now because they're on a date. And at one point, Stede makes Ed laugh so hard he snorts milkshake out of his nose, and then Stede helps him clean the milkshake off his face. And Ed finds out that Stede's hands are even softer when they're touching his face. And it's not even an awkward moment, because they're just laughing and talking the whole time, the whole night. And Ed doesn't even feel panicked about it for one single minute, because it's so easy. So easy. They don't even realise the diner's about to close until Jackie herself comes around to kick them out with a "time to get scooting, you crazy kids." And it's still easy. Stede getting the door for him again. Stede driving them back to Ed's apartment. And they talk the whole time about how cool college is going to be, how Stede can't wait to turn 18 because he's finally going to get his ear pierced, how Ed's mum will probably never let him hear the end of him coming home so late, but even that is just a bit of a laugh. It's all just so fucking easy. And then Stede is pulling up outside Ed's apartment, getting the door for him one last time, pulling Ed to stand. But someone between them must have misjudged, because when Ed lands steady on his feet, they're close. Very close. Ed can feel Stede's nervous exhale against his cheek, and suddenly this part isn't so easy. Because technically Ed has done this part before. He's kissed a few people, boys and girls and other people, and it's always been fine, you know, nothing special. But none of them have been Stede, and none of them have been Stede's first kiss. And this is special. This is so, so, so special. And maybe Ed hasn't messed up any of this so far, but it would really suck if this was where his luck ran out. But then Stede takes his turn, another turn being brave, and asks Ed, so soft, "Can I kiss you?" And Ed says, so soft, "Yes, please." And so soft, so softly, Stede's lips touch his cheek, light it up with the gentlest blush, send Ed's heart pounding all over again in his chest, because of course, Stede would be so sweet about this. And then Stede says goodnight, and Ed says goodnight, and somehow, Ed is up in his apartment. For all he knows, for all the weightless feeling of giddy butterflies in his chest knows, for all anyone can prove, he flew. End of fic. Oh, I just dissolved in a puddle of adorable cuteness. Oh gosh, I loved it so much. And I hope we get to see more of these boys.
That was Teenage Dirtbag and We Are Golden by oatmilktruther, read by Baby Kraken. You've definitely enjoyed these fics, so head to AO3, and that link is listed in the show notes, and give them a comment and a kudos. And remember, you are welcome to narrate anything for us at any time. Just get the author's permission first, then email the file to ourflagmeansfanfiction@gmail.com. I look forward to seeing you during Gay Pirate News Hour on December 7th. And don't forget to check out this week's episode of Haunted Hollywood Hour wherever you get your podcasts. For memes and other Our Flag related hilarity, follow us on Instagram at ourflagmeansfanfiction, all one word. And be sure to give this podcast a rating and a review to show the world that there's still an audience for Our Flag related content. Until next time, do creations, be cringe, commit crime. Bye!